The college football experience, Nico transferring out of Tennessee and Sac State to the FBS episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com. Use our promo code TCESGPN to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
Hey, everybody. Joe Theismann here. You're listening to SGPN. So do this. Let it ride.
Yes. Welcome to the college football experience. Nico Iamaleava leaves Tennessee, hits the portal, hits the road, and Sacramento State to the FBS episode. Yes, we got news going around the clock. YouTube.com/the college experience. Get on over there, hit that like and subscribe button because we never stop here. Basketball season ends. We were still doing football in the middle of the basketball season. We were doing baseball. We were doing Frozen 4 in the middle of basketball season. But now it's we're turning the page, and there'll still be college basketball episodes coming out. Check out the college basketball experience. But now it's college football and college baseball from here, and obviously college basketball with the off season. But we'll be ramping up the other ones. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's a fair question. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Oh boy. I mean, and never a dull moment in college sports these days, specifically college football, but in really all of it. Every day there's news. I've been doing this show 8 years. I feel like 8 years ago all was quiet. I remember Bob Stoops stepped down in like May. That was like the biggest news in like 10 years for these months. But man, the past couple years have been insane. And here's other news coming down the pipeline that pretty much is on par with that. I am joined by my co-host. He is a former staffer at West Virginia. If you listen to the college basketball experience, you've heard him there. Give it up for the great Ryan McIntyre, a.k.a. Money Line Mac. How are you, brother?
Doing good. Yeah, I mean, usually the buzz with college football is the spring games. Now you can't even find the spring games because they don't put it on fucking TV anymore. So I guess we'll just talk about more portal madness. Let's go.
I mean, so we got news over the weekend. I was on vacation, so forgive me for not doing the right away episode. I think this is still somewhat right away. We're still beating some other platforms to the beat here, to the punch. Yeah, I was in the middle. I was having cocktails. I was down there on the beach in South Carolina. All of a sudden, we got news. And even crazy. I mean, so we have Nico Iamaleava. I don't know how to pronounce his fucking name. Every person I've heard it, they say it differently. He's from Long Beach. The kid played high school right down not far from where I lived at one point. And I have some friends that actually, have been talking about him for years. So he was the original NIL QB that I think he got $8 million to go to the University of Tennessee, $2 million a year back when he signed. And now he decides, him and his family and his representation, that hey, I deserve $4 million a year, because I think mainly that was based off of the speculation that Miami and Duke had gone out. Miami obviously brought in Carson Beck from Georgia. I don't think that's been official that he's making $4 million a year. And then Mensa from San Luis Obispo, California, who was at Tulane, Darian Mensa, I believe got $3 million in change, I think, from Duke.
Yep.
And they were here's the weird thing. He didn't ask for it in December. Oh, I mean, he kind of did. There was speculation. I've seen Josh Pate report that he almost sat out the playoff game in December, which is just unfucking believable, by the way. Right. And then after the fact, when you had that portal didn't close. I mean, Tennessee got their ass whooped. They didn't win any. They didn't win. They were out early in the playoffs. That window closed like January 10th or something. I feel like, give or take a day. So he waits on that. No news there. And then the spring obviously cycle is coming right up. The spring game. And if you didn't realize, he didn't show up to practice on Friday. They had a spring game on Saturday. So you can imagine, the drama there on that. But first off, your reaction, because to me, I was just kind of dumbfounded by it. He didn't play great last year, man. So what was your first reaction when you heard this news?
My first reaction was exactly what you just said. Don't you have to play well in order to get a pay raise and an upgrade? I mean, he's talking about sitting out the playoff game. He might as well have. He went 14 of 31 for 100 yards. I think the backup could have done that. And it's fitting that it ended up being Nico that it kind of went off the rails here, because he was the original transfer or NIL quarterback. They signed him for $8 million out of high school. They got to go fight Congress for Nico. And then he comes back and says, nah, $2 million's not enough. I may sit out the playoff game, or I won't show up to the spring game. I'll just sit out and hold out like it's the NFL. Good for Josh Heupel. And that was on the fence for a while, like 24 hours of like, how will Tennessee respond? A lot of people that I talked to thought they would pay. I thought maybe too, because I thought, well, Tennessee made the playoffs. Do you really want to ruin that momentum? I'm sure they could get some extra money, but I was like, I don't think I realized how big of apparently like his dad and their representation have been pain in the asses to deal with the entire time. But I just thought, it's ridiculous what he's doing, but I thought they would pony up the money, because here's something he hits the portal. He can't go to an SEC school. So Tennessee can't go to an SEC school and grab another quarterback. They're going to be, trying to figure it out with the two quarterbacks that are still on the roster but also I think they're going to try to, grab somebody in the portal. And now you have this crazy scenario here where I don't think he's going to get. Now there's speculation right when I heard the news that USC was behind all this. I don't think that's true. No. And it's starting to come out. I think that it's not true. Obviously, Miller Moss was with USC a year ago as their starting quarterback. He transferred to Louisville, and then they went out and they got a year ago Miller Moss's backup, the kid from UNLV, Jaden Imaaleava. But USC didn't get a quarterback in the first round of the portal, and Imaaleava played pretty damn well in his time as a starter at USC. So I think Lincoln Riley's content with that. Now, I know Nico's brother almost went to UCLA. He ended up getting, flipping on signing day. But, UCLA is known to not have that much money, according to Chip Kelly. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, first off, congratulations to Tennessee. But let's look at both sides of this right now, because I feel like, where the hell is he going to end up? Like, if you had to bet, is he going to be able to get to even his old contract, $2 million? I don't even know that he can get that. I think he probably will get $2 million. I don't think he's going to get $4 million anywhere. I don't even think he's going to get more than $2 million. What do you think happens with all this? Where do you think he goes? Because we're going to find out very soon. I mean, we thought it was going to be North Carolina. I feel like the whole the crystal ball projections all said he's going to end up in North Carolina with Bill Belichick. No, Gio Lopez. Have you driven a Gio Lopez lately? Has the former South Alabama quarterback who we were huge fans of, him and Fluff Bothwell. But he hit the portal today, and the speculation is that he's North Carolina's next quarterback, even though they still have Max Lawn Chair Johnson, Brad Johnson's son. So
if that rules out, you're looking at schools that have a lot of money. North Carolina's one that actually has upped the ante in football. So I thought that made sense. But now with this news, where the hell does this guy end up? Is it even a Power 5 school, Mac?
I'm starting to think the same thing. And this is where it's kind of actually sad that what happened with Nico in terms of the actual Nico, the person, not like he got really, really bad advice. I would be shocked if he got $4 million. I'd be shocked if he got $3 million. I'd be a little surprised if he even gets $2 million because there's not a lot of demand right now. Like I don't see a lot of these teams absolutely needing a quarterback. And here's the other thing. He's got the reputation now of a pain in the ass because of his old man, an entitled player that's about himself and not the team. And I think, yes, we're in NIL and portal era, but we've lost like reality that this is still a team sport. There's 22 guys, 22 starters. There's 100 guys on the roster. The locker room is still the most precious and most important thing, team chemistry. I know that we kind of just go against that now. Everybody just wants to get the most that they can get. But you got to have a good locker room in order to win, and you got to have guys that'll have your back. I just don't see anybody saying, I'm going to pay $2 million, investing $2 million in that shit show. So Colby, I really think he may end up at the G5, which will be entertaining if he does end up there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for the kid in a way because he's only a 20-year-old kid. He's probably listening to his dad and whatever agent or representation that they're using. But I'll tell you this: so they were apparently bothered by Mensa getting that contract, even though Mensa was fired for Tulane last year, right? And Carson Beck at Georgia. But the difference is this, man. Like if you're comparing it, the market's always going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, Nico got $2 million at his first year at Tennessee, where he only started one game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, did you deserve the $2 million then? The sports now, it's always going to be off balance because new guys and hope, you're going to sell hope. Duke goes out and pays, for this quarterback from Tulane to sell hope to their fans. I don't think a lot of people saw that one coming. And it's like, okay, you were overpaid your first year when you threw 2 touchdowns the entire fucking season. Last season, you threw 19, but that's another thing is you dive into the numbers on this, and it's even more like alarming of like, so he threw 19 touchdowns. 11 came against Chattanooga, UTEP, and Vandy. 4 of the 9 in SEC play came against Vandy. So Vandy's defense, by the time they played Vandy, was depleted. He had his best day against Vandy. The only really, so if you take away Vanderbilt, which he threw 4 touchdowns, he only threw against any other SEC team more than 1 touchdown once, and that was against Mississippi State, who was fucking horrible last year, where he was 8 of 13, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. So only 13 passes that game. Like his stat line is just like, I don't think it deserves more than $2 million. If anything, $2 million, you're getting away with murder in a way. Like based on the stats you put up a year ago, it's not like you set the world on fire. And you go watch the tape. One of the things I highlighted from last season was like, I could see the potential.
Yes.
Right. I could see the potential, but he was overthrowing receivers, critical game against Arkansas. He runs out of bounds instead of throwing the ball up there when there's no time on the clock. So he looked like a sophomore / freshman quarterback last year. I don't know how the fuck they convinced him that, that, hey, we deserve the money of those guys, even though I know those guys aren't like, I see the argument saying, well, this guy was at Tulane against subpar competition. Look, first off, Darian Mensah as a freshman, once again, Nico's a sophomore as a freshman comes into Tulane. He takes on Kansas State week 2. He threw for 342 yards against Kansas State, who's a good team. Sorry, you were not doing that type of production against Power 5 competition. I mean, not even the Vanderbilt game did you throw for that many yards. So I just disagree with the assessment. And yes, there's always going to be certain quarterbacks. Arch Manning barely took snaps. He made a shit ton of money. All right, it's always going to happen like this. in the sport. So to think that you deserve more just because one guy's getting more, I just don't think it's ever going to work out like that. Now, as far as where he goes, I have a few ideas. There's a couple P5s that I think are still worth mentioning here. I want to talk about those, but before I do that, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Edge Boost. Have you ever had your deposit blocked by your bank right before a big bet? It's the worst, right? Ever needed cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables to hit your ATM? You hit your ATM limit. Been there before. Using that, you go into that ATM machine inside of the Win. They charge you like $20 just to take out, some money. Yeah, I've been there before. But Edge Boost has your back. They are the ultimate play action fake when it comes to this. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors. Edge Boost allows you fast, reliable access to your funds, making it easier to move your money to wherever you need it without delays. That come with all the traditional banks and stuff. And for you high rollers out there, you can move up to $250,000 a day on your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. This works 24/7 for instant deposits. So never wait for a wire transfer or any of that. You're not going to wait for it to clear. No. That's all nonsense, right? And it gets better. Every time you deposit into a qualified gambling account, you earn cashback rewards up to 0.5% there. So all of this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. Edge Boost is a debit account that makes it easier. I mean, they don't even do credit checks. No minimum balance, and no usage fees. Simply verify your identity and you're ready to go. So what are you doing? Go to edgeboost.bet. Use our promo code SGPN. Once again, that's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Sign up today over at Edge Boost. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every single sport, including the NBA playoffs, which are right around the corner. Plus, there's props for every game, and MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations. You can easily deposit, get lightning fast payouts using crypto. So head on over to mybookie.ag, promo code TCE SGPN. That's our promo code there. Once again, TCE SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code TCE SGPN. All right, we are back on the college football experience, and what's just a crazy, wacky week here. So obviously, UCLA is still out there. They kind of need a quarterback. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have that type of cash, but who knows? UCLA. I've always been dumbfounded on how the fuck they didn't have that cash. You go to someone that did their screenwriting program on campus. You're like, holy shit, it's fucking phenomenal here, right? How is this not possible, especially with some of the alums that have been there? So I'm never going to say never with UCLA, but Chip Kelly left because they were not willing to pay in the NIL essentially to the P5 level that he thought other teams should. So maybe they gave him at a discounted rate because it's close to home. He grew up in Long Beach, or he played, high school ball in Long Beach. So maybe that's the play that maybe USC gets him on the discount. I mean, if there's a P5, yeah, I was going through this and I was like, because a lot of the obvious one would be Michigan. They'd be able to have, some help with Bryce Underwood, who's a freshman. But I don't think Michigan wants that baggage. I don't think they want to deal with that. Right. I think majority of the teams don't want to deal with that, or they don't have enough money to offer him. So where does he go? Now, Texas Tech is one that is interesting.
I thought about them, but I thought Baron Morton had a good enough year last year, 27-8. That's what's funny about the Nico thing. It's all about potential. There's no production to back up what they're asking for. He had the exact same numbers as Joe Milton. It's not like he had Hendon Hooker coming off a 31-3 year or 27-2 year. I mean, they're so out of touch with reality, his dad and his camp. It's not even funny. But I'm not saying the kid sucks. He has shown flashes where he can be good, but it's been inconsistent. So yeah, Texas Tech came to mind, UCLA. What about San Diego State with Sean Lewis?
Well, that one makes a lot of sense because they run the same offense, but the veer and shoot offense that Heupel ran. It's the Art Briles thing, that one makes a ton of sense. I just don't think they have that many resources though. Like maybe they can get him a mill. I would say maybe a mill.
What do you think he's going to go for? That's like 1.5.
There is one out there that I do find very, very interesting besides Texas Tech. Texas Tech is one just because they've went and got every goddamn transfer, like I'm not going to rule that out because it seems like their boosters are like, yeah, he's a big time name. Fuck it. Bring him in. So I'm not going to rule that out, especially because Baron Morton's got dinged up a lot of these years. He can't stay fucking healthy. So I will not rule that out, but I got one. So we can't transfer to an SEC school. The Big Ten I went through, I was like, okay, maybe Oregon. That's not the only one I'm excited about, but I'm saying
Lanning the one that snitched.
Yes, apparently, allegedly, Dan Lanning is the one that snitched. But like, you saw this a year ago where they had Dylan Gabriel and they paid to get Dante Moore. Is there any chance that they pay to get Nico to have Dante Moore and Nico, two quarterbacks? They have the money. It'd still be weird if he called the snitch on him, but
yeah.
Jed Fish at Washington is another one, but they have their guy. I feel like, but. I know Jed Fish, I think, first off, I know he recruited Noah Fafita, who was tight with him, right? Noah Fafita is from the same area, the starting quarterback of Arizona. So I knew that there was a connection there. So I was like, maybe that, but they have their guy, the kid that played great in the bowl game. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. So I got the one, though. And look, as much as I hope he ends up at a group of 5 in a way, not for him, not for his sake. He's probably a good dude, but I'm just saying for them just mishandling the situation.
For the system, yeah.
And I'm so glad that Tennessee did not pay him in a way, but Syracuse paid Kyle Honda McCord last year, $1 million, I believe, to come be their quarterback. And they had a great season. They were actually, if they hadn't have botched that Stanford game week 3, they would have been in the ACC championship, right?
Yep.
Fran Brown in year 1, I think, has bought some momentum around them. I think Dwight Freeney cut some big checks to them this past season, right? Hear me out here. If he has nowhere to turn, Syracuse lost McCord. They tried to get that extra year of eligibility. The NCAA denied it. Now, I know they have Ricky Collins Jr., an LSU transfer who just played in the spring game.
Yep.
But you know who they play week 1? They play Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I was trying to do the math on who has a little bit of money they just paid. Yeah. Trust me, Ricky Collins Jr. coming in from LSU, he's not getting $1 million. So they paid $1 million allegedly for Honda McCord a year ago. That you can't tell me Ricky Collins Jr., who's never really played much, that they feel great about his chances. So that's one school that I actually think could pay and would consider paying him. I went through all the Big Ten schools. I was like, man, Iowa, that Ferentz would not touch this dude. Even on a normal scholarship, I think Ferentz would be like, get fucked, right? Like there's a lot of these coaches in that conference where I thought like Minnesota could use him. Nah, they're not going to pay him, right? Now I will say, one Big Ten school or two Big Ten schools that did catch my eye were Rutgers. You saw them just pay with these freshman basketball players. Yeah. Right. I was like, Rutgers, I know they have the Greek pellet gun, but I was like, maybe they would take a flyer on that. And then I thought Maryland lost Billy Edwards to Wisconsin. I was like, maybe Maryland would, but I can't think of many P5 schools in the ACC. I went through it and I was like, Narduzzi ain't fucking with that. Right. I was like, I went one by one on these schools. I was like, I can't see NC State pulling the trigger. I can't see, any of these other schools. Miami's got their guy already. Miami would, by the way, but Florida State would, but they got Castellanos. There's not many options. Like, to me, I mean, maybe you can talk me into and here's another side of this. I think that's compelling is like, if Tennessee steals a sitting ACC or Big Ten quarterback, do they then pay Nico that money? Tennessee could also be the reason why he makes $4 million. Think about this. If Tennessee goes and takes, I don't know, starting quarterback at, I don't know, like name if it's Kyron Drones, but even though I know he's dinged up right now, that's another one. Virginia Tech might, with Drones' injury, maybe they would pony up that money. But any sitting quarterback that's played pretty well over the past, I know Miami's and Florida State have new quarterbacks, but if they were able to steal a sitting quarterback, because they can't take one from the SEC.
Yep.
I don't think Rocco Beck would leave Iowa State personally. I don't think he would. I think his dad, his family's well. Yeah. I don't, Colorado is an interesting one, but they brought in Salter and Juju Lewis. But my point that I was trying to make is like, say, he goes, Tennessee goes and grabs Baron Morton.
Yeah.
Then Texas Tech might pay him the $4 million.
Yeah.
Or if Tennessee goes and grabs, Miller Moss from Louisville, then the Louisville might say, fuck it. Let's pay Nico $4 million. They might, that might be the trickle down effect of all of that. But, I don't think there's many group of five or Power 5 opportunities out there. Which one do you think is the most realistic? You think that you like the Syracuse play?
I like the Syracuse one. I think he's going to end up at UCLA in the end, but I don't think, and here's why too. You mentioned that they don't have that much money. I don't think you got to pay that much to get him because there's not a lot of competition. They've mishandled this hand bad. I actually think he's going to take a pay cut. He's going to make less than $2 million a year when he could have been playing at Tennessee, an SEC playoff contender. As for the other part, what about Avery Johnson from K-State? I'm worried as a K-State guy. I'm worried as hell that he's going to fucking bolt for fucking Tennessee. He's a little bit of flash. Yeah, I could see him a nice NIL package. Imagine if they paid $3 or $4 million for Avery Johnson.
I'll be honest. When I saw Gio Lopez hit the portal today, I thought it was him going to Tennessee. Yeah. And then when I saw Carolina being the team, and then obviously Josh Heupel worked with Alex Galesh, who's the head coach at South Florida. Byron Brown is a name that I think a lot of people think could be Tennessee's, next move, which would make a lot of sense. But then also, that opens up the door for these group of 5 teams. I do think there's a couple group of 5 teams that could give him $2 million. I don't know about would. Could. And one is Tulane is definitely one, especially with the Finley situation going on. He's driving a stolen car. That one, I wouldn't rule it out. And another one I wouldn't rule out is Memphis, because it's right down the road. And Memphis and Tennessee, if Memphis football fans, and they're, historically, like, they wanted Tennessee to play them more. So this could be a good fuck you, even though they would still not play. But imagine if he went there and lights it up and is a Heisman contender or something. It could be, and they have that FedEx money. So maybe that would be a play. But even the group of 5, I know some people said UNLV. I don't think they have that money. That's why Imaaleava left. Yeah, I think San Diego State does make sense, though. I think if you tell yourself, the question does Sean Lewis want that? Sean Lewis is a guy that is a Barry Alvarez guy. You know what I mean? So does he want that kind of, for 1 year? He still might, though, to jumpstart that program. If they say, hey, give me $1 million for 1 year, I'm transferring next year. Just know this. I'm here for 1 year. Same exact offense that he was running at Tennessee. So it's going to be, and we will have news wherever he lands right away. I would be shocked, though, if it was any other Power 5 school. I went through this and I was like, SMU is not going to pay for him unless Jennings left. But I don't think,
SMU's not going to allow.
I know they have fuck you money. That's what I'm saying. So I just don't see another scenario in Power 5 schools. I mean, Colorado is, I guess, the one. I think Deion could actually talk to the family and be like, they'd be able to relate in many ways, probably, right?
Yeah.
But do you really want Colorado just paid for Caden Salter and Juju Lewis to come in, a big time 5-star freshman that flipped from USC to Colorado? So maybe I guess I can't rule it out. but I don't really see many other Wazoo. Maybe Wazoo after they lost Mateer has a little bit of money. Maybe, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I also think like the landscape of college athletics with the NIL. I don't think Tennessee's going to just be able to outbid some of these other schools. Like they're not outbidding SMU for Jennings, or they're not outbidding. Like if Texas Tech really wants to keep Morden, they're not going to be outbid either. So that's where this dynamic is really is kind of crazy looking back on it. So
horrible advice, just horrible advice, in my opinion.
And Colby, we talked about this. I think we did it with Sluka this last year with UNLV. I know it's hard to say. It's only you're only asking for another mill, but like, what is that in the grand scheme of things? You're throwing away. What do you think those NFL GMs are thinking?
Yeah.
Watching this, like you're throwing away $20 to $30 million for an extra $2 million this year.
And to play that game, like I said, like if I were a part of the family, I would say, I get it. You feel like you're better than those other quarterbacks, even though I don't know that would be accurate in my personal opinion. But yeah, but I would say this: you made $2 million for starting one game in your freshman year. You were making more money than Max fucking Duggan and whoever the hell was playing big time games. It's never truly going to be fair. So ball out at $2 million this next year. And then I guarantee you, if you were a Heisman contender, they would pay you $4 million the next year. So I don't know, just a fascinating storyline here. I think Tennessee did the right thing. Now I do want to ask you this: Tennessee's schedule now, assuming they just go, full on, they're going to bring in someone. I don't want to say that they're just going to just be content with the backups. They will. They might
competition at least.
Yes, exactly. But Tennessee, if the season started tomorrow, it's I believe it's Jake. Is it Jake Merklinger? I think
Merklinger is what they're calling him now.
I love that name. From Savannah, Georgia. He did have a game against Chattanooga where he was 4 for 4. All right, for 31 yards, 8 yards of completion, just about.
Had the stats against Chattanooga like fucking Nico did.
Dude, this dude's going to be a fucking legend. Imagine if they just roll with him.
Yes.
Now the schedule, though, you look at the schedule. I wonder, like, Tennessee fans have always been unrealistic. For the past 20 years, they've always thought their team should fucking, be atop the SEC. That's what's great about their fans. They're great. Yes. But you made the playoffs last year with subpar quarterback play. They're going to expect you to make the playoffs again. Mm-hmm. You look at the schedule, you get that Syracuse game in Atlanta. I hate neutral site games, but then you get Georgia week 3. Normally you get that game in November. You get at Alabama, at Kentucky, at Florida. You got home games against, and by the way, at Mississippi State, I forgot to say, home games against Arkansas, home games against Oklahoma. Shit, in November, Venables could be fired by then. And you end the season against Diego Pissing Pavia and Vanderbilt. But it's like, that's not a ball. Like, it's the SEC. It's a challenging schedule, but it's not like Florida's schedule the past couple of years. There's still a path. But how much does this news hurt this team going into this season?
Well, I think it could be one of two ways. I mean, it could be a rallying. They may have been done with Nico behind closed doors for all we know. And I don't want to say that the quarterback position doesn't matter in college football, because it does matter. But you think of the really good teams over the last couple of years, quarterback play has been solid, manage the game, don't turn it over, run the football, play great defense. Ohio State and then Michigan and then the 2 Georgia teams. The last really dominant quarterback to win a national championship is Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could make it.
Jones was really good that one year.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow is the one that set the world on fire. But I would say, like, you could still make a case. I mean, Michael Penix got to the championship game. True. Lighten it up, but you make a great point though. Is Stetson Bennett was a walk-on, right? Max Duggan was a 3-star.
Yep.
Obviously this past season, Riley Leonard was, I think he was a 3-star originally to Duke. And then you had, Will Howard, who was shit. I would be surprised if he was more than a 3-star, but maybe he was a 4-star. You make a great point. To win in college football right now, I don't think you need an elite quarterback. I almost think in a way, I mean, the best looking at the top quarterbacks in this year's draft, none of them made the playoffs. They were close. No, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders were close, and same with my guy at Ole Miss. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, Jackson Dart. But it's a compelling point, though. Is like, should you even be investing fully at the quarterback position? Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't pay the quarterback, because the quarterback still matters. Like, they still have to make big time throws like Will Howard did at the end of the national championship. But I would invest the hell out of my offensive and defensive line, make everything great around the quarterback so you can just place him in and get the playmakers the ball behind a really dominant offensive line. The Georgia model, Michigan the year before. I know McCarthy ended up going high in the draft, but it wasn't because of his production. I mean, They in the Penn State game, they literally lined up and said, "You're not throwing the ball. We're running it 30 times in a row down their throat." So, I think teams have got to look themselves in the mirror and be like, "Where are we going to invest these resources?" So, but back to your point about the Tennessee schedule, what do you think they're going to be an underdog in 3 games?
I mean, Georgia at home, week 3 at Bama. At Florida, maybe though. Napier could be fired. Like, the schedule does. Honestly, there's same with Oklahoma. Like, they're hosting Oklahoma on November 1st. Venables could be fired by then. You could get the best of no Venables and no Napier. So it's a nice schedule, man. Like, to me, if you told me as an SEC, if I was a head coach of an SEC team, Dundee, who would you want on your schedule? I'd want Mississippi State on my schedule, right? I would still want Vanderbilt, even though I know Diego Pavia is back, and I think that program is on the rise a little bit. But I still think, from a talent perspective, you have an edge on them, right? I would want Arkansas. I would want Kentucky. Guess what? All 4 of those are on the fucking schedule, and SEC foe New Mexico State, that just seems to be playing all these SEC teams year in and year out. I think it still could be a playoff year for them. If they're able to pick up, or if our boy, who might just be our new favorite quarterback, Jake Merklinger, out of Savannah, Georgia. All right. On a midnight train from Georgia to Knoxville, Merklinger, that's going to be on Urban Dictionary. I guarantee you. And by the end of the season, if he takes Tennessee to the playoffs, that's going to be on Urban Dictionary. She gave me a Merklinger, bro. It's going to be fascinating. What'd you think of, I know we didn't prep for this, but because the news just came out, Gio Lopez to North Carolina.
I like Gio Lopez, and I think Belichick kind of told you what we just talked about for the last 38 minutes and change. And what I think a lot of these old school guys are going to think, I'm not paying $4 million with all these headaches that come with it, when I can get a guy that I think is just as productive. Maybe he doesn't have the same upside, but I can plug and play. And Belichick, I know it's at a different level. We haven't seen them in the ACC, but with what we watched with New England for all those years, even with Brady, he wants to run the ball. He wants to play good defense. He wants to control the clock.
Great special teams. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still going to play the Patriot way. And I think Lopez is a nice little fit there. So
I like it. I think he's a baller. I think now, obviously, Sunbelt to ACC is a step up, but still, I like mobile quarterbacks. To me, I think, like, in this day and age, you should, no disrespect to Max Johnson, but and Max Johnson will still be. Hopefully he stays on the team, because that depth could be key. Assuming Lopez beats Johnson. Johnson's been in college football for like 20 years, and Lopez is still a young kid. So, I think it helps that room a lot. I think Carolina, I don't know if you caught go listen to our episode with Bill Belichick to North Carolina. I love the way the ACC gave him a nice schedule this season. It could be a big year. Yeah, it could be a big year for Bill. Some other news I want to get to. I mean, like I said, there's news just flying off the shelves in college football right now. I saw Maxx Crosby, the Raiders DN, was named general manager of Eastern Michigan. You're starting to see the Steph Curry is Davidson's general manager. Maxx Crosby, that he already gave the school, I think, like $2 million for like a football field, to redo the football field or the football stadium. So it's now called Crosby Field at the factory there in Ypsilanti. But what do you make of these players just all of a sudden becoming GMs? I guess I kind of like it. Like if you could have Maxx Crosby go step in a some kid's locker room, and say, "Hey, you should come to Eastern Michigan over, over so-and-so." I can't hurt, right?
I think it's good and bad. I think it's good to have your alumni, guys that have worn the uniform, can relate to the players, that are invested. I mean, everybody wants their alma mater to win. But I also think it can be dangerous where they're not
You're
really
not qualified
to actually be the general manager. Andrew Luck. And then what they're trying to do with Wilcox at Cal and Riverboat Ron. I mean, Ron sucked as the GM for the Redskins. Why would he be a good GM for Cal?
The only positive I see in that is that the boosters are that excited about football that I'm like, all right, if they're actually, before they would just phone it in, but the Cal gets, they kind of get disrespected because of Stanford. I feel like Cal likes football more than people think, but
saw it on game day this year.
Yeah. It's one of these things because they're rivals with Stanford. It's like everyone just assumes no one gives a shit about football at Cal. They actually kind of care. I'd say more than UCLA. I mean, I find all that fascinating to see. I would love to see EMU come up with Chris Creighton there, but I want to talk about, speaking of coming up, you want to talk about another team that he could transfer to, by the way.
Nico, yes.
Oh my God. I love college sports for this reason. We're going to get to it, but there's a team in California that is coming up to the FBS. You might have heard the news, folks. But before I get to that, I want to let you know that the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes. I've been playing, obviously, college hoops. I was killing it on Underdog Fantasy. You can find stat projections, honestly, that you can't find elsewhere. I just hit on UFL this past weekend. Bryce Perkins over 103.5 passing yards, just destroyed that. They have this for every single sport too. NASCAR, MMA, NBA, NHL, MLB. They have it for everything. You got to check out Underdog Fantasy. I'm not just saying that because they're our sponsors. I play it daily. So sign up, and when you do, use our promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, Rhythm is your home for AI backed picks and props, and Rhythm is now live. They just released their models for Major League Baseball. We use their models for college basketball. They still got the models out there for NBA and golf. And let me tell you, pick's so good it feels like cheating. And look, building your own model is simple and easy too. That's one thing I always like to do. They have their own models, but you can take certain things from it and build your own model, so it still feels like it's yours. And Rhythm has some amazing deals going on right now. 25% off their monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25, and 50% off the annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. That's Rhythm. That's RITHMM. Promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50 over at Rhythm. All right. We are back on the college football experience. And, I saw people bitching about this. I love the FCS. I host the FCS college football experience. Subscribe if you haven't. I love one of the elements of college sports in general that I love is it only takes one fucking person to say, hey, I want, one school to just get their ducks in a row. It might be more than one person. Sometimes it could just be one person just to say, hey, you know what? Fuck this. Let's go play with the big boys.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It was not that long ago that Sac State was a D2 school. They went up to the FCS, and don't get me wrong, they've scored some FBS wins in their 20 so years or something, right around there in the FBS, or I'm sorry, in the FCS. But we heard reports of this with all this conference realignment, with the Pac-12 being reborn and the Pac-12 taking teams from the Mountain West. We heard all of a sudden out of nowhere, you heard Sac State say, man, we're building a brand new football stadium and we've raised $40 million of NIL money. And you're just like, is this real? Yeah. I think a lot of people really question, like, what? This can't be real. I've heard rumors that Tom Hanks cut him a big ass check. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard rumors from people that I kind of trust their opinion. It's like, no, Tom Hanks, who's a Sac State alum, gave them a big ass check of money, and that city rallied behind some of that. And I think everyone was kind of puzzled. There was talk that Michael Vick was going to be their head coach. They fired Andy Thompson after just a short tenure there at Sac State. They went out and hired Brennan Marion, who I thought was a slam dunk hire, right? Brennan Marion was the OC at UNLV the past couple of years. He dealt with the Sluka situation, and obviously UNLV had their best 2 years of football the past 2 years since Randall Cunningham and Ickey Woods. So they hire Brennan Marion, which I thought was crazy. I first I was surprised he took it, because I was like, damn, I thought he was going to get maybe a head coaching gig in the FBS. But then I heard that the Big Sky was going to implement I think this is what happened. So Sac State, I think wanted to be FBS, but I was told that the Mountain West, when they chose UC Davis over Sac State, the Mountain West didn't want anything to do with Sac State, which is surprising to me, right? I was like, why would they not? They have football, they have basketball, and they have some serious money, allegedly. For whatever reason, the Mountain West chose UC Davis, right? But then Sac State, apparently they've been a part of the Big Sky Conference in the FCS for a while. The Big Sky was going to up their exit fees by a substantial amount. I think I read $600,000, right? Well, Sac State just said, you know what? Fuck your exit fees. We're not waiting for that next year. We're leaving now, right? Filed the paperwork, and now they're going FBS independent, which is my favorite, Mac, because this is the ultimate gangster move. I like college football was built on the independent route, and that's why I hope there's a point in time where we get more independence. This is America at its finest. Like, this is just fuck you, Big Sky, fuck you, Mountain West. We have a shit ton of money, and guess what? We're fucking coming. Sacramento State is going to the FBS. They filed the paperwork. Trust me, the NCAA is not going to battle that paperwork because they're losing every fucking case in court. They're going to the FBS next year. Now, obviously, you get the shitty news. They can't be in the FCS playoffs for some stupid reason. Let's just hurt the kids. But, dude, what do you make of this news? I love it personally. And I like, what do you make of all this?
Hey, and they hired Mike Bibby in basketball, so they're investing across the board. Speaking of which, the thumbnail had the Tennessee and Sac State logo. If Nico just wants paid and doesn't care what level, Sac State might be a buyer here. Who knows? You mentioned it, the Marion hire. I thought he did a great job managing the Sluka transition, and UNLV still not missing a beat, getting back to the Mountain West Championship. And you also look at it, he was on the staff for Pitt the year that Kenny Pickett and that electric Pitt team, that their best year with Narduzzi by far. And then he's also
with the fake slide bullshit. Yeah. Yeah.
Softest play in history. But softest team. I don't want to talk about Pitt anymore. Anyway, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited about Sac State. And I look at their schedule this year, first 2 weeks at South Dakota State and at Nevada. Here comes independent scheduling right at you. But I would imagine with this payroll, they're gonna have some dudes on that team next year, and good for them for investing.
Speaking of which, I looked at this and I was fascinated by this just from the host, me hosting the FCS show with before the news that they were jumping FBS. They landed a 4-star recruit. Now that's not until next year, but I was like, damn, Sac State is, because a lot of people speculated that they didn't really have that money. I remember listening to, what's the guy from The Athletic? And he was like, I don't know that they really have that money. But clearly they fucking do, because to jump to the FBS, also to hire Brennan Marion, trust me, he was a hot name in the coaching cycles or circles. It would have been, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they clearly fucking do. They're building a new stadium. So dude, they brought in, let me see if I can count this right now. 22 FBS transfers. And that includes former 5-star wide receiver Ajayi Hall from Alabama and Texas, right? That includes a guy I like, the running back Rodney Hammond from Pitt, right? That's probably a connection to his Pitt days, but they went out and got guys, man. A bunch of UNLV guys coming over that were part of that team that went to the championship game in the Mountain West the past 2 years. I am fascinated by this story. Like this is why the sport is great to me. Like I know there's a bunch of FCS fans that are completely bitter with this news because, and what'd you make? The president of Sac State, Luke Wood, I believe his name is. Not only announced, well, first he kind of shit on FCS, which I know FCS fans are he was saying it was JV, which I disagree with that too. But whatever you want to say, whatever. Football is football. Like, but what I did love is they asked, where do you see yourself going? He mentioned a lot of people thought Mountain West or Pac-12. Now he did say he has had talks with the Pac-12, but Mountain West for some reason I don't know what the fuck they did. Yeah. It just doesn't seem like they're on the same page with the Mountain West, but he said Big 12 is the end all goal. The Big 12, Mac, the Big 12, you're Big 12 here.
Yeah.
Is this like the drunk guy at the bar saying, yeah, I'd love to fuck Beyonce. You know what I mean? Or is this actually like a possibility long-term? I will say this, man. If they are serious, Sacramento, California is they're a sports city to me. I was always like, Kings fans are awesome. I remember back in the day, there was a spring football team there and they showed up for their team very well. I thought Fresno State is another team like in the desert that their fans are awesome. Mm-hmm. With this much buy-in, I could see this actually being a slam dunk for the future of the sport. Like California is a great recruiting state. 40 million Americans live there, right? And a shit ton of non-Americans. But my point is there's tons of talent there. You're in a great TV market, the Bay Area right there. Now, I don't know how much college football they watch. They don't look at it like that. They look at how many human beings can watch fucking TV. And this could be a gigantic sleeping giant. Am I crazy?
Well, and everybody likes to talk about the time zones. What time zone does the Big 12 not have? The Pacific. So they don't have a presence in California. I actually do think that it could happen in the future. That stadium that they're building is freaking nice. I got the pictures pulled up here. If they can get the money that they're dumping into this to translate into wins, which I think it will because they have dudes on the roster, to then translate into fan enthusiasm experience, I think they would be a draw. Because one thing about the Big 12 is, everybody likes shit on the Big 12. Their fans are as loyal as they come. So if they can prove that they have a little bit of a brand in a fun atmosphere, a fun college atmosphere, I think they would definitely be a draw more than some of these other teams that want to jump up to the Big 12. So, money can buy you a lot of things. Hopefully it can buy them some fans too.
It's so great. That's why the sport's that's why it's always awesome. It's like Liberty. Liberty was D3 not long ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and they just said, hey, fuck you. We got a bunch of money. We're showing up. and this is a train coming, and they went all the way to the Fiesta Bowl, right? So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Sac State. And like I said, I believe that money was coming in just because I just thought it was possible. I've always wondered why there wasn't more football schools in California of late. They used to have a shit ton that don't exist anymore, which I only think helps Sac State's point even more. By the way, if you're trying to fundraise money, there's no more Long Beach States. There's no more Cal State Fullertons or, Pacific universities. There used to be like 30 fucking schools in California playing football. I think that only helps their position even more with how many players are from there. It's going to be fascinating to watch. And now what's great is they have a bullseye on them in the FCS because of some of the comments they made. So you're going to watch these FCS teams, Montana State, Montana, South Dakota State, have a shot at them. And then at the same time, you have them taking on Nevada, where they've beaten the shit out of a couple P5s, or I'm sorry, FBS teams. Yeah, they've done a great job. But getting Brennan Marion told me they were really fucking. I think that hire was a great fucking hire, man. Like I was surprised. I was completely surprised he took it. So I'm buying in. Give me some buying some stock on the Sac State Hornets team. I just wonder how long it will take, and I'm fascinated to see what they do on that independent schedule 2 years from now. Folks, we will be back tomorrow night talking Eddie George to Bowling Green, which I know that episode's been in the works. That's like Terminator 4. It took a couple decades.
Yeah.
Right. Eddie George to Bowling Green, and maybe we'll key in on Frank Wright, the new interim head coach in Palo Alto tomorrow. But we are back. The college football experience can be rolling moving forward. So what are you doing? Subscribe, tell a friend, and it'll be kind of around this same time zone. I would say same time each and every night. Majority of the nights. You know how it works. The off season, I preview 130. Last year I previewed 134 teams. It's 136 this year, and next year it'll be 137. This year we get Delaware, the Delaware Blue Hens, and Missouri State. Last year, Jacksonville State was one of the teams that came up. So Sam Houston State the year before that. So we've been rolling over here. So subscribe. Ron says, how good will Sac State be this year in football? I think they'll be very good. I think Brennan Marion is a very good coach. And bringing in that many FBS transfers. Now, I actually, in a way, I kind of like when they catch South Dakota State because their head coach left for Washington State. But obviously South Dakota State has been coach proof over the past couple of years, just dominant. But if you told me when you'd want to play them, I would say week 1. And then they get Montana in Sacramento. They don't even get Montana State this year. They have a very favorable schedule, and the NCAA should stop being bitches and let them be in the FCS playoffs because that team is going to be good enough for the FCS playoffs. I'll tell you that.
What do you think? 9-3? Early look at it, maybe 10-2.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Nevada game is interesting because they're at Nevada McKay Stadium, which I think could be a future rivalry game there. But Nevada's coming off Penn State, that body blow that is Penn State. So I think as much as I thought Jeff Choate did a great job in year 1 in Reno, and I think that program's heading in the right direction, I think that's a game. So when I look at the schedule, dude, I mean, UC Davis could catch them. I'm going to say there's 2 losses on the schedule, but it wouldn't shock me if they ran the table. They have a 5-star. It's like Randy Moss when he was at Marshall. You know what I mean? Like, it would not shock me one bit. And I think Brennan Marion's a coach that knows what the fuck he's doing. So, folks, that's our show. Moneyline Max on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac. I'm on Twitter at TheColBD. The college football experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Obviously, we will be back with breaking news if in the next couple days Nico is signed to San Diego State or to Syracuse. I want it to be Syracuse because I like drama, and I think that would make week 1 fucking awesome. So we'll have you wherever he goes. We'll have you covered. And like I said, Eddie George talked to Bowling Green, Frank Wright to Stanford tomorrow. Wednesday, I think we're going to take a look at some other stuff. So buckle up. college football experience is teeing off right now after the Masters. So check out the other stuff though. College baseball experience, college basketball experience, bunch of great shorts came out over there. Obviously, we're going to talk. Don't we have one coming right up? Yes, we do.
Yeah, doubleheader.
Yes. So check out the college basketball experience right now. All right. Right fucking now in 30 minutes there. So till next time, this is the college football experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.